Oh dear. I gotta get that other whistle back. Hello, welcome back. This is the third video. Oh, we're getting to the good stuff in my How to Make a Discord Bot series. At this point, by the end of this video, I want my bot to say hello back to me. Say hello back to me, bot, please. Talk to me. I'm lonely. And so that's gonna happen by the end of this video. So hopefully, if you've come through the first two, you've already created your own Discord client application and bot. And also, you hopefully have terminal access to your computer with Node installed. So if you don't have those, go back to the previous videos or look for the video descriptions for those steps that you need to follow. But if you've got all that, you're ready to go. So I want to write some code. I'm going to create a Node application. What do I mean by Node application? So typically in a lot of my other videos, I've used Node to write a web server, to host a website, or to maybe actually communicate with Twitter in a Twitter bot series. So I tend to use Node as a kind of catch-all JavaScript programming environment as the glue that connects different projects. So maybe I want to talk to an API, I want to set up a web server. Most of my videos are just using P5.js, which is all client-side code that operates in the web browser. This code that I'm going to write in my text editor and run from my console is just running locally here on this computer, and it's running because I'm typing in commands to tell it to run. And eventually we'll get to how we might deploy it somewhere else later, but that's really the way I'm using Node. It's a programming environment to write my own software that runs on this computer. It just so happens that the software has no interface whatsoever. So I happen to have a folder on my computer called ChooChooBot. It's completely empty. My console is now pointed at that folder, and I can say pwd to confirm. It's on the desktop of the coding train user, ChooChooBot. And if I have Node installed, in order to start my Node project, the first thing I want to type is npm init. So npm is Node Package Manager. It is a part of Node, and it allows you to manage your packages. That makes sense now, right? But basically, this is the command for I want to start a Node project. So if I run that, it's going to give me some prompts to say like, oh, why don't you tell me some stuff about this project, like its name and its license and the author of it. And you should be thoughtful, and you can even set up some like settings on your computer to have it autofill with key information. But just to move through this kind of quickly right now, I'm just going to hit enter, and I'm going to say OK. So all of the defaults are now there and entered in for this project. And if I go back to the folder, I'll see that, oh, look at that. I have a package.json file. That is the configuration file for this particular project. Let's take a look at that file. And to do that, I can open up this folder in my text editor, Visual Studio Code. I'm in code. I go to File, Open, and I select ChooChooBot, hit Open. Let's look at package.json, and there it is. I also need to create now another file. In package.json, it says the main script that's part of this program, this bot, is index.js. So of course I could name this anything I want, and just to make that point, let me change this to bot.js, and then I'm going to create a new file called bot.js, and I'm just going to say console.log beep beep, and now I've got index.js, package.json, and if I go back to my console and I run the command node bot.js, this is me running the code that's in bot.js. Beep, beep. Now for this project, I want to make use of something called discord.js. Discord.js is a Node module that allows you to interact with the Discord API very easily. And that's exactly what I want. And I've got the command right here to get going with it. npm install discord.js. I can type that command here. This is going to add that module to my project. I can go back and check package.json, and you'll see right here, it is now one of the dependencies. So I have access to using the discord.js node module in my project. Now, amazingly, I have a full example right here. I could just copy paste this all of this code, and I'm basically done with the bot already. But I kind of want to work on it piece by piece. So I'll bring in these elements one at a time. But let me at least start by just copy pasting these first two lines of code, which are a little hard for me to just sort of memorize. The require function is a function that essentially imports the discord.js module, and then I want to create a client. The client is the object, the JavaScript object that connects to the Discord API itself to manage to run the bot. But I need to very specifically authenticate with the Discord API with that particular bot. So this is now where I need to say client.login, and this is where I need to put my bot token. So I would say, generally speaking, it's a pretty bad idea to just hard code your bot token right into your code. Ultimately, I'm going to want to keep that in a separate configuration file. A .env file is something that I've used before, and I have other video tutorials about that. I'll come back and do that with this project, but just to get it working, and if you're following along just for testing, I'm just going to paste my token right in there. And of course, by the time you're watching this, I'll have regenerated my token, so that won't be the valid one so that nobody could watch this video and take over my bot. So I'm back on the Discord developer portal in my application on the bot page, and I can click copy to get my token. And then I can paste it right here. And let's run this again. Well, it's just sitting there. How do I know if it worked? So probably I want to have a callback, a function that's called when it's successfully authenticated. Probably I would get an error if I had used the wrong token, but it's not very helpful to have no message here. The way that I implement this is with an event handler. And there's actually lots of different kinds of events I can handle. Like I want to handle an event when somebody emoji reacts to my message or when a new user joins the Discord. Right now, I just want to know when I'm ready. So I can say client.on. This is to handle any particular event. And the event has to have a name. In this event is called ready. And then I want a function that is called when that event happens. And I could put an anonymous function in here, and that's probably what I should do. I could use the arrow syntax. I'm going to call that function ready Discord. And we'll define that function, ready Discord. And I'll just put a console log with a nice little heart. I like to console log emojis. That's how I debug. And so hopefully now if I run this again, we got the heart. So it authenticated successfully and it's ready to go. Let's go back to the Discord server. ChooChooBot, look at that. ChooChooBot is online right now. So ChooChooBot is online because it's connected. So what's next? I mean, there's so many things I could have this bot do. One thing I should really mention is that this might be a point where you pause and go take a look at a website called discordjs.guide. This website has a ton of resources and examples for things you can do and how to do more advanced stuff and all sorts of ideas. So there's a lot there. I'm going to just do the most basic kind of hello world thing with the bot, where if it reads a particular message that I say, it responds in a particular way. Typically the message, the example that you'll see here on the discord.js website is you say ping, I say pong. We'll do something train themed probably, but let's basically do that. In order to make that happen, I'm going to write another event handler. This time the event is message. This event will happen anytime anyone sends a message to the Discord whatsoever. So this is going to happen a lot. All the channels, all the users. Like if I were to just write console.log message, we're going to see just crazy stuff happening in the console. Let's try. Let's see what happens. I'll wait. There we go. Now I've got a message, and probably there'll be some more coming along. But you can see there's tons of metadata associated with all the various messages that are being sent. Reactions and mentions, and there's something called a webhook and flags, timestamps, so much stuff we could begin to work with. But I want to be simple about things, and I'm going to just look at the message content. So let's just say, for example, if the message content is equal to choo choo, I will send a message. So message.content is one of the properties in the message object. I happen to know that, but there's a lot of properties, and as I do some more videos with some more functionality, we'll see more. So I'm just going to check anytime the message is choo choo. I'm going to reply with train, rainbow, sparkly heart. All right. If you say choo-choo, exactly case sensitive, everything about JavaScript and string comparison applies here. If you say choo-choo, I will say this back to you. Let's run this again. And I'm going to go over to Discord. And I'm going to type choo choo. Yay! And here's all these people who are now participating by typing in choo choo and getting replies from the bot. Now let's just be sure about this. If I type in choo choo with a capital C, I'm not going to get a reply. And if I go back over here into the console, we'll see that the messages are coming through. I'm console logging the message contents. And by the way, I'm not just console logging the choo-choo, the replies are also being console logged. One thing you have to be really careful of is if you wrote your code, like if I wrote the code like this, I commented this out, and I just say reply to every message, first of all, I'll be spamming the server like crazy. But also the bot messages itself will trigger message events. So if the bot says this, the bot then replies to that, which then replies to that, which then replies, I'll be stuck in an infinite loop. So you can really wreak havoc on your server by starting to do this. But having this protection here is pretty good. I want to add, before I wrap this video up, one additional feature. I want to only reply to the message choo choo in that particular channel. So if I come back to Discord, one thing I can do under the bot testing channel is I can right click and I can go all the way down to the bottom here, and you can see there's an option for copy ID. Now, you won't necessarily see that. You're only going to see that is if you have your developer mode enabled in the Discord client. Where you do that is under settings, under appearance, and then scrolling down under advanced. So you can see I have developer mode enabled. As soon as you have that enabled, I can go back and I can right click and I can get copy ID. The reason why I want that ID is because I'm going to go back to my code and I'm going to also say if message.channel.id equals that particular ID, and let's take out this console log. Now I'm adding another check. Only if the message is part of this channel and the contents is choo choo, then reply with that reply. Let's see what happens. Back to Discord and let's mention choo choo. I've got my reply right there, and I'm actually going to go to this other channel called Bot Talk. I don't know what's going on in here. Guess what? It's the Distream bot. This is one of the bots that maintains and has a lot of functionality for the Coding Train server. Let me come back to that in a second. So you can see another example here. And I'm going to go type choo choo here. And I do not get a reply because now I have limited the replies only to bot testing. I should also mention one thing you notice here is that it's always at mentioning me, which is something that you might want, but not necessarily what you want. So something that I could do in this particular case is I could change the way I'm replying by saying message.channel, so a particular channel, and then send. And then let me just use the same emojis. I think this is the code. So instead of using the reply function, which is a quick way to just immediately reply and mention the particular person who wrote that message, I can just change it to this. Let me restart the server. I'm going to type choo choo. And there we go. Now I just get the emoji reply without the mention. Just to make this do something slightly more interesting, what if I were to create an array called replies, and I were to put a few different replies in there, like this. Here I now have an array with 4 different replies. Maybe what I want to do is pick a random number. Multiply, with this math.random picks a random number between 0 and 1. Multiply it by the length of the array. And then also make sure that's an integer index to an array. So I'm going to add math.floor around that. Math.floor takes any decimal number like 3.6 and just takes off the decimal, makes it 3. So now I can say send replies index r. And maybe I want to call this variable index. And now what I'm doing is I can see like this is what I'm getting. Like, get your creative juices flowing. The world is your proverbial oyster, your bot oyster right here, where you can actually add any logic you want for how you want to interact with that particular user who wrote that message. All right, here we go. Restart the server, type choo choo. Never forget the this dot. Ding! We can see now the different messages come up. Okay, what should you try to do? So one thing that you could do, and this comes from the Coding Garden with CJ example that I made with CJ in a live stream on his channel. What if you made a Magic 8-Ball bot? So if you ask the bot a question, the Magic 8-Ball is an old toy, I think from the 80s or so, maybe the 90s, who knows? I definitely had one when I was young. You ask it a question, you shake it up, and it gives you an answer to that question. Could you make a Magic 8-Ball bot that answers your questions from a list of pre-made replies? Also, let's go into bot talk and let's see what some of the features of the bot that's in Coding Train right now, the DisStream bot, are. So for example, I can type !ping, and this is actually pretty good practice for your bot if it's receiving messages to have some kind of set of characters that indicate it's a bot message as opposed to just general chatter. So for example, if I typed ping, like maybe that's not something that I actually want to be communicating with a bot, but !ping will actually give me message back from the bot. It will say pong back. It will say how long it took to receive that message and to reply. I don't know, there's a bunch of metadata here that's going on. I can ask for help. Now I'm getting a list of available commands that I can use with this particular bot. Let's try user info. It's telling me about me. My name is Shiftman. I am not playing a game. I created my account about a year ago. And this person is not a bot. I am not a bot. Can I say user info ChooChooBot? There we go. I'm getting the user info about ChooChooBot, and it says bleep, bleep, I am a bot. So this is something you could think about as an exercise, like how could you make a bot reply with all this kind of information using the Discord API? How could you make a Magic 8-Ball bot? What kind of creative ideas do you have? So many possibilities. And if you want to look at the DisStream bot source code and learn more about what DisStream bot is, this is a bot and also a chat manager for streamers. It's created by Kobe and David, two members of the Coding Train community. It has a ton of features and lots of things you could do with live streaming on Twitch and with Discord and bot. I won't get into all that, but check out the website. So this really wraps up this video. I haven't shown you very much. I mean, this is an exciting moment if you've gotten all these pieces to work. You actually have a bot that listens to messages and sends messages, but there are so many things, more things that I want to show you. Honestly, I haven't really learned how to do all the things, so it might be a little while before the next videos come out, but please, give me your suggestions or ask your questions about features you'd like to see implemented in the future videos. Leave those in the comments. Join the Discord community and chat with us there. I'd absolutely love to hear about any Discord bots you make. Poetry bots, creative arts bots, weird, strange, useless bots, or maybe you've made something very practical or useful that has in a particular context. I'd love to just hear about all of the stuff. So you can tweet me at Shiftman. Why am I talking about Twitter? This is the Discord bot series. Join the Discord, Coding Train Discord. You can share stuff there. There's also a web page associated with this video that has a way of if you have documentation or information about your bot online somewhere, you can link to it from there. So I'll see you. It'll be a little while. I'll be wearing a different shirt, but in the next videos, hopefully more exciting things to come. In particular, I definitely have to show you how to hide your token. But if you want to do that right now, check out my video already about the sort of .env node package. That's what I'm going to use in this series as well. All right. Thanks, everybody. See you soon. Make your bots. Beep, beep. Beep, beep. I'm a sheep. Goodbye.